The straight shot was prototyped, and I liked a lot what I saw, but it needed a fair bit of nose weight to operate. And so what I did was I moved it a little bit back on the spar. At the same time, the wing is a little longer, top and bottom. The VGs are in exactly the same spots, but I've remade it, like I said, like brand new. I also made a slightly bigger tail with a stronger base, and the other tail was actually this one. They're very similar, and if you didn't know, they're actually separate. And I've gone with a bigger elevator on this one because this is the 3D plane. This is the one I want to have be brutal. Now look at the angles here. You can see it's a little less aggressive than on the other one, so it won't climb and dive quite as brutal as the other one did, but it'll have a bigger tail surface, an elevator surface, but it does it with a smaller elevator, which made it lighter in the rear. Plus I moved the spar back, and I was actually able to remove almost half the weight from that nose cone, to the point where the original build was 2 grams and 1.8 grams of ballast on the nose. This one weighs in at 0.6 of a gram less in total than the other one did at this point. That's without the landing gear, and it flies just a little bit better. It glides very nicely, and it climbs easier than the other one does with the same VGs because it has a lighter nose and the exact same VG set, but a bigger wing. It also has them split taller apart, slightly taller, because the taller they are, the better the wings get to work without being interfered with from the aerodynamics of the other. That being said, this one flies beautiful, and I know that once I get our C gear in it, it's going to fly absolutely epic. The tail is a little far forward rather than being out at the end. If it's out at the tip, it'll be more effective. I wanted a bigger surface a little farther in, so it's a little more balanced. When you start to push the tail, it'll work, but gently, because only the first 2 points will come out into the wind, the very tail of it. And then as you lean into it, it gets more and more effective, and it should be very nice for carving turns. And I'm really looking forward to trying this and getting the RC gear into it. So now all I have to do is build a mild landing gear. I'm going to go lighter than I did with the other one, though, because even though this build is technically bigger, it has a bigger tail vertical surface and much bigger wings. They're the same diameter except for a couple of millimeters. It's literally about 1 millimeter for the bottom wing and about 2 millimeters for the top wing, longer, but they're deeper. They're wider this way. The top wing by about 6 millimeters, no, more like about a quarter of an inch, and the bottom wing by about the same. So they are stretched, even though they look about the same proportion. They are stretched, and if you look at the two videos, you'll see the differences between these two, and I'm trying to show them to you as close as possible so you can. But they're both very nice. They both handle very well, but like I said, this is going to have smaller ailerons because I found the other one was pretty sensitive to roll. Building a bigger wing helps with that because it won't roll as quick. So I have found the other one rolled and dived a little too fast for what I'm looking for, but it's perfect for me. And I'm going to rebuild. I kept the old one, and I'm going to rebuild that one brand new again, only exactly the same as it was in the first series on it. And I didn't bother doing a series on this one, but I wanted to show it to you in detail so that you could recreate it and see the changes, because this is actually basically the beginner version of that plane. It's got a little bit milder wing profile, getting a lot of lift from VGs and the fact that it has a big wing. A taller tail? No, it's actually about the same height, but with twice the size of surface area on the tail, and a mounting that's much stronger. This part of the tail is actually shorter and a little narrower, but has a bigger control surface to balance out, so it works out about the same. It actually should be a little stronger elevator than before, believe it or not, but just a little, but with a smaller profile that's lighter, so that it will affect the tail a little easier. It can climb and dive nicely with this setup, so the tail won't have to work hard. But the other setup was on like a razor's edge in its climb and dive and roll rate. This one's designed to be dialed back a little bit from that. So I need a bigger elevator because The wing is a little farther back. That gives it a nice pivot. It doesn't have to lift the wing all the way out here. So you might think I'd go with a smaller one. But the angles of the wings are less aggressive, and it'll need to have a little more authority to climb. The other one was so sensitive in its climb and dive and roll that I was a little concerned for you beginners out there who might see that and build it. And I wanted two versions of this. For every aircraft I build, there's two versions, at least. There's one where you build it the way I do, and then you could slightly enlarge the wing, slightly shrink the control surfaces, and you would have a great beginner aircraft, guys. These are all now thoroughly tested. I've glide tested this thing, and it flew great, well enough that I stopped right away and went, okay, this is good. Anything that's going on right or left is absolutely minimal. It flies nicely, very straight. It climbs very well and comes down very well, which is what you look for. So I'm very happy with this. The rest will be done with some landing gear and a tail skid, and that'll complete this one. And I'm really excited because it's looking really nice. It's looking really symmetrical. I did a good job on the build. I don't see any actual mistakes. It's looking perfect. I measured, I put my VGs, and then I used them as brackets to put these on so that they would be equal. And it came out perfect, guys. My wing tips, even though the bottom one is slightly longer, might be the only problem. I might need to trim a little, but it doesn't look it. I look like I have the exact same offset on both, and it's creeping me out because it looks like I got it absolutely perfect. Anyway, only time will tell. The glide tests say it's pretty much perfect. The other one was the same thing. When I first built it, it glide tested absolutely perfectly. It didn't start to have any problems until I put the landing gear on and the bracing for the tail. But I made this one big enough where I won't need to brace the tail, at least not in the same way I did the other one, because I don't want the braces. They are extra drag, and they are extra things you could screw up. So this is a simpler build than the last one, while being a little milder. So this is definitely the more beginner version. The other one, once I brace it, is ready for more aggressive, hardcore flying and could be taken outside. This one also could go outside, but it's so light, guys. I really don't recommend it unless you put a fairly powerful brushless motor in it. That's my plan. 3.5 millimeter brushless, 200 mAh. Should be sick. I can't wait to see how that fares out. I may go as low as 100 mAh just for flying indoors, and I'll change the prop from an indoor prop to an outdoor prop. The indoor prop will be for slow flying, probably be a little bit bigger diameter, lower RPM, therefore, with a heavier lift profile will be my ideal choice for that. Keith out.